This is like my worst nightmare because this is all my favourite food. Like baked shit and chocolate. Living anywhere on £20 a week is incredibly difficult, but in London it's ridiculous. I find myself spending insane amounts of money on everything I do, and as a student, this is just an unaffordable way to live. So I set myself a challenge to see if I could live in the greedy capital for £20 a week. That's 15. That's so much food. Oh, here we go, 25p. 90 grams. And this is 378, okay. And this isn't a personal choice. This is because I'm forced to. I thought butter would be cheaper than spread. I decided to go to a cheap local supermarket to get all my dry ingredients and a few fresh things. I also went to this international supermarket where I haggled 30p off the price of my dried chickpeas. The total shop came to £12.11, and this is including a few dry ingredients that I already had in my cupboards, and I've just factored them into the total cost. Making scrambled eggs is extremely easy. You just crack 2 eggs into a pan with some milk, some butter, salt and pepper, and mix consistently on a high heat. This was actually the first time I've ever cooked scrambled eggs with margarine. Margarine is a lot lighter than butter, meaning the flavour wasn't anywhere near as rich, and the eggs just looked a little bit anemic, but all in all, still a really good breakfast. So I'm now on my way to uni, and I didn't bring my purse with me because I don't want to be tempted to spend any money. It wouldn't normally be an issue if I spent 80p on a cup of tea, but it's quite a significant chunk out of my weekly budget this time round, so I've bought my own tea bags instead. And I'm going to try and make a bit of their milk, I think. So I managed to get some free milk from uni just by the jugs near the coffee station. I filled it up most of the way. I just didn't want to be super cheeky, even though I think I already have. So I know it's really boring and everybody knows how to make porridge, but I'm just going to show you that I'm using this free milk. Right, we've been growing basil since second year of uni, and it's free, basically. So I'm going to make pesto, but I don't have any pine nuts, so I'm going to just improvise. I blended basil, salt and pepper and olive oil in a blender and blitzed it until it resembled the consistency of a pesto. Because I didn't have the pine nuts, it didn't thicken as much, so it was very liquid, but I just cut 3 grooves into my chicken to give the pesto a bed to lay in. It was actually a blessing in disguise because all the olive oil seeped into the chicken and made it extremely juicy. Actually amazing. I'm proud of myself. It's day 2 and I woke up and I'm super hungry, but nothing I have is edible because the bananas are not ripe and I can't make pancakes out of not ripe bananas, so I'm going to try anyway, so I think I'm just going to add some honey. Making banana pancakes is really easy if you have a ripe banana. However, I did not, so I had to add some honey to make them a bit sweeter, otherwise they'd be completely disgusting. It was really easy. I blended an egg, a banana and a teaspoon of honey in a blender. Then I fried them in a pan like a pancake with a bit of butter. Make sure you have enough fat in your pan so that the banana pancakes don't stick, because they stick a lot easier than normal pancakes and it makes them really hard to flip. So I'm running really late today, so I'm just going to have this couscous left over from last night. So I just added some kidney beans to my leftover couscous because I needed a protein element for my meal and I didn't want to be starving all day. And then I just covered the whole lot in salt and pepper and a bit of olive oil. So it's 4:30 now and I'm still at uni. I'm not even hungry. I last ate 3 hours ago and I'm perfectly fine. I haven't actually been hungry since this morning. I was only hungry when I woke up and I'd had a dream about Victoria sponge cake. And I was just craving cake, but I think that's my own sugar addiction. I don't think that's anything about this challenge being unachievable. This meal was actually inspired by a breakfast food I had in Egypt a few years ago called shakshuka, This is also relatively easy to make. It's just half a can of tomatoes, which I mixed salt and pepper in. I boiled some kale with some salt and mixed them together. I put them in my fabricated bowl and then I cracked an egg on top. Sprinkled a bit of salt onto the yolk and a bit of pepper on the whole thing and baked for 15 minutes. So I had to super quickly change. I'm off to a industry event, a mixed table socialise thing. But I need to run because I am already late, which is not good. I'm running very late today. I'm not normally like this, I promise. So there was free alcohol at this event and then my friend invited me over, so I had a lot of free alcohol at my immediate disposal. So I went to my friend's flat last night after the industry mingling event and she had wine, so we thought it would be a good idea to drink it. And we got extremely drunk. So I've woken up with a headache and I'm not feeling 100%. I'm going to go to the market, I'm going to get some fruit and veg for the rest of the week and replenish the minerals that I lost last night, and hopefully the fresh air will do me a bit of good too. So something amazing just happened. I went to the market and I told them that I was on a budget, so I got given loads of free stuff. I asked how much the man was going to charge me for one lemon, and he gave me an orange, 2 limes, an apple and some grapes. And I asked the other guy how much it would cost for 2 courgettes, and he gave me 2 courgettes and 2 pieces of lime, like bonus, for free. The only thing I paid for was the tomatoes and the peppers, and that came to £2.30, so I got all of this for £2.30 from the market outside my house. Look how many grapes I've got, they're all free. I've been wanting to make sandwiches all week, however I had no condiments and no one likes a dry sandwich, so the only solution was to make some mayonnaise. For my mayo I blended an egg yolk with some lemon juice, some salt and pepper and some basic vegetable oil, and I just blended it until it made a thick consistency, and it actually turned out really well and it tasted really good. So I'll admit that this was a shambles. I decided to whip the egg whites because I didn't want to waste them and I wanted to make aerated egg bread. However, there was a bit of yolk in my egg white, which meant they wouldn't whip. Egg whites will not form peaks if there's any fat touching them. I had to then think of something else to make with them, and I thought about egg white omelette. I'd already half whipped the egg whites, so they were extremely fluffy. So I started to fry all my vegetables in the pan, and then when I added the egg, it just was burning, so I had to keep picking it up from the sides and tossing it back into the pan. I had this egg fajita mix. I thought, it would be great if I had some wraps right now, but I didn't, so I just put them in toast, and this was probably my worst meal. So it's Thursday now, which means I've made it over halfway through the week, and I'm feeling really good. I've actually got plenty of food to last me until Sunday. But last night I woke up about 3 AM and I was craving some sugar, and I made this big stodgy bowl of porridge because I only really have oats and honey. And I just drowned it in this sugary goo, and I was just working my way through this sugary bowl, and I could feel my teeth falling out, but it was amazing because it's the first sugary indulgence I've actually had since I started this challenge. And then I also made some froyo in my late night binge, but I'm not sure if I fancy it right now because I had a lot of sugar last night. I just got back from the gym, so it's time for froyo, and this is the froyo that I made last night. So it's basically an excuse to have ice cream for breakfast. So my version of froyo was really easy. It was just a banana mixed with some honey and some yogurt, and I just blended it up and then I froze it. If you use proper Greek yogurt as well, it'll be better. I was using fat-free natural yogurt because it was cheaper. It didn't make as thick a froyo as I wanted it to. Once again, I needed to make a quick lunch, so I just boiled an egg, I sliced it up, put it on some bread with my mayonnaise, a bit of butter and some salad, and I had an egg salad sandwich. So So this was probably actually my favourite thing that I made. As soon as I got the ginger from the market, I really wanted to incorporate it in a dish. And the combination of carrot, ginger and lime is a really, really good one. So I made them into a soup because I thought that was the easiest thing to do. So for my soup, I fried up a few diced onions, made a stock out of hot water, salt, pepper and parsley. It's not much of a stock, granted, and if I had vegetable stock I would definitely have used that. And then I put the carrots in with some grated ginger and some lime, cooked for about 25 minutes and then blended it up in a blender and it was ready to go. So today is Friday, which means that I'm nearly done. Today I've got like a really mundane day. I'm just going to the cobblers and I'm doing some work. But I'm going out tonight to celebrate Student Pride and the event is free luckily and the drink's only £1.50, which means that I can probably buy one. I'm not planning on spending a lot of money because I only have £5.51 left to last me, but I do only have 3 days, which is always a bonus. So I have a lot to do today, so I'm just going to make a really quick breakfast. So for this, I cut 2 peppers in half and put them in the microwave for about 2 minutes. I boiled some water to make the couscous, put a bit of butter in, fried up some vegetables, some tomatoes, some onions and mixed them in. Then I stuffed the par-cooked peppers with this couscous and then topped with a bit more butter, a bit of parsley and baked for about 20 minutes. So I wasn't actually very sure how this one was going to turn out. I'd seen these spiralised courgette things on Instagram and I'd been wanting to try them for a while, so I thought now's the best time to do it. I didn't have a spiralizer, so I used a grater. I just grated up some courgette. I fried it in a pan with a bit of olive oil, salt and pepper. I cooked some peas at the same time and I cooked a piece of chicken. And then I mixed the 3 elements together with some of my homemade pesto just to make a kind of spaghetti meal. The only thing I would say is lacking was a carbohydrate element. It wasn't exactly a filling meal. So going out to a free Student Pride event and I'm taking my last fiver. I've got £5.51 left and I'm just going to take this out for emergency money. Drinks are only £1.50 though, so if I can probably buy one and I get them for free in heaven and GOI, which would be amazing. But we're walking there, so we're going to get enough alcohol in us to last us the night. So I got in about 3 AM last night, but I'm doing fine. I didn't actually get that drunk because I only had £5 spending money and I actually only ended up spending £1.50, which means that I've still got £3.50 left to last me the week. And I also had a good night, so pros all round. So I wanted to go for an eggs Florentine kind of breakfast, but I didn't have any spinach, so I substituted it for kale. And I didn't have any hollandaise sauce, so I had to make sure the egg was gooey in the middle so that it would be runny. So for lunch I decided to make an Italian farinata, which is basically a chickpea pancake. For this pancake, I put some dried chickpeas into a blender and ground them into a flour. I then put this flour into a mixing bowl and whisked in some water and some salt and pepper. Once it looked like a good pancake batter, I covered it and left it for 4 hours. It then had a skin on it after this 4 hours, so I just took that off, threw that down the sink and put it into a pan with some fresh parsley. After it started to brown on the edges, I put it into an oven at about 180 degrees and cooked for 20 minutes. It came out looking like an omelette, but it didn't taste like an omelette. The edges were nice and crispy and the inside was gooey, and it was a really nice mix of textures. So for my marinade, I mixed together lime, salt and pepper, a bit of ginger, and some oil. I used sesame oil, but you can use any oil that's got a nice flavour on its own, like olive oil. I then made incisions into the skin so that the marinade would actually penetrate into the meat and not just be on the top layer. I left this in the fridge covered for about 4 hours. Then made a basic couscous. I boiled the kettle, poured it into the couscous, put some butter in there, fried up some vegetables. You can also use some of the same oil that you use in the marinade to keep the flavour palette similar. This has been marinating for about 5 hours now. And it looks good. It smells even better. So it's time to fry it. So it's Sunday morning, which means it's the last day, and I am nearly done. I've got 3 more meals and then I can eat whatever I want. And I am relieved, I'm not gonna lie, but it hasn't been unbearable. Like, I have enjoyed it, and I feel like I've created some very inventive meals, and I think you just need to be a bit inventive. You can go a long way with this sort of challenge. I spent £2.60 last night in Tesco. I bought some milk for tea. I bought some rolls because I'm gonna make burgers. Bought some bacon, some cupcake cases, and I bought some Greek yogurt because I decided that I wanted to make a banana oatmeal cupcake thing for breakfast today. So my bananas are nice and ripe now, which means that I can make these muffins that I've been wanting to make for ages. I basically ground oats into a very fine flour almost. Then I added some yogurt as a thickener, some honey for sweetness, and a banana. I then blended these up all together and made them into a cake batter. Put them into cupcake cases and baked them in the oven for 15 minutes. When they came out, they had risen a little bit. They're not going to rise a lot because I didn't have any baking soda. Mine were a little dense and a bit dry because I added too many oats. However, next time I'll add some more yogurt and they'll be lighter and they'll be fluffier, but they still tasted really, really good. So for lunch on the last day, I had my favourite meal that I'd made, which was the soup, and I just reheated a big batch that I made earlier in the week, and this is just a reminder of how I did it. So I wanted to make bean burgers, but as I was cooking for my boyfriend and I didn't have enough kidney beans and chickpeas on their own to make a burger, I used chickpea flour as a base, and I added red kidney beans, some chickpeas, which I'd been soaking in water for a few nights, some salt and pepper. You have to make sure you add enough salt to chickpea flour, otherwise it is bland. I added some chopped onion and I mixed that together. If you're having trouble trying to thicken it, you can add cooked potato like I did, or you can add breadcrumbs, which you can make from just toasting bread and then blending that up. I then added them to a really hot pan and fried them up. They were very loose consistency, so I kind of made them like drop burgers, but they started to brown and I could see them cooking through, so I knew that they were going to be good to eat. And it was actually an incredible burger. Not at one point did I think that I was lacking meat.
So I finished the challenge 2 days ago, and yesterday I had a bit of a pig and I ate lots of chocolate and sugary snacks that I've been deprived of during my week. But I feel like last week was a very eye-opening week. I did not realise how much money I would save by not buying food out. Yesterday I bought a meal deal and I bought a smoothie and it cost me like £4.50, and that's like a quarter of my budget from last week just for one meal. And it just shows you the price of convenience. I'm definitely going to think twice before I ever buy a packaged meal or a ready meal again, because what you can do yourself is just so much better. And it's like being able to make mayonnaise is incredible. I never thought I'd be able to make mayonnaise, and my own mayonnaise tasted far superior to the packaged bought stuff that I could get in a shop. So if I could do it so much better myself, why don't I? Why don't I do it so much better? And it just comes down to time and laziness, and I just wonder if, because we're all so busy these days, cooking is declining, and it's a shame. I think more people should try this, and I think you'll save a lot of money.